Hello and welcome to this webinar by Cygnus Performance Management on budgeting and forecasting for the charity sector. So first of all, who are Cygnus Performance Management? Well, Cygnus Performance Management is a specialist consultancy focusing on the enterprise performance management space, budgeting, forecasting, reporting, etc. The business is led by three solution architects who between them have more than 40 years combined experience working in this area. Two of them are accountants and one is an economist, so we have a very numerate background. We've specialised in working with the not-for-profit sector for many years now, and our clients have included the likes of Citizens Advice, who happen to be the newest Vena user. Go live was just the Friday the 13th of November, a few weeks before this recording. Mary Stopes, where we were working with statutory consolidation. Age UK, where we did board reporting and CFO packs, and Victory Housing, where we were looking at budgeting and forecasting. So the focus of this webinar is on a product called Vena. So what is Vena? Well, Vena is a Generation 5 software as a service based EPM platform. It's one of the newest breed of built for the cloud FP&A solutions. It takes the sort of direction that Applix back in history started, which then developed into the ERP based FP&A modules with Infor, Oracle, etc. and through to the latest versions of Anaplan, Tagetic, Adaptive, who built on-premise solutions and have tried to adapt them to the cloud. Vena is entirely new and entirely built for the cloud. Strong integration with Excel, Power BI. It's built from the ground up to truly solve the Excel conundrum rather than try and replace Excel. So Vena was the first to really embrace Excel and to take a different view. It's aimed around being intuitive, flexible, and using a platform that's already everywhere in pretty much every finance team and business. It allows users to focus on the skills they already have to derive better performance management. And I think the statistic on the right here is a key point that needs to be got across, which is that, and we've seen this in pretty much every build we've done, which is that 84% of firms keep using Excel as an extension for their FP&A software. The fact remains that particularly within finance functions, we build budgeting and forecasting processes, and if we try and put them in cloud, in the web, in forms or in templates, people go off, build their own spreadsheets, and then copy and paste the results or rekey them, and it's vastly inefficient. Vena looks to change that. You will find that most people will say that you cannot do FP&A well with Excel. Well, again, Vena aim to prove otherwise. With Vena, you get all of the benefits you get with Excel, but you also still get full workflow automation and status tracking. You are able to collaborate across many departments. You've still got version control and audit trail. You've still got security and scalability. You can integrate and pull data from lots of different data sources, and you've still got the ability to do complex financial modeling, but also getting the certainty that everyone is doing that modeling in the same way. Calculations are still controlled in the back end. So Vena still provides the complete spectrum of an full EPM solution. That central connected OLAP database in the background. You've still got alignment between actuals and forecasts. You've still got a modeling engine. But going with that, you get everything that you would want from Excel. You've got the full function Excel with all of the functions you know: insert rows, build graphs, use formulas, everything that your team are going to not have to be trained on. But you do that with the knowledge that the data is safely stored away and aggregated in the Vena cloud. When you combine that with one of the most powerful workflow engines and task engines on the EPM market today, you get a truly special, powerful platform. You can automate your data feeds with on-premise solutions or cloud solutions such as Salesforce or NetSuite with out-of-the-box connectors. And finally, you get direct connection and integration with Power BI for that rich final layer, if you want it for dashboarding, quick to view reporting with no complex setup. So rather than me talk constantly about Vena, why don't we stop and take a look?
Okay, before we start showing you the budget and forecasting model from a process point of view and how end users, whether they be contributors to the process of entering data or whether they're actually users who are going to be reviewing the data, just want to show you on screen here is a visual representation of the workflow that we're going to be using. This is actually not just a visual representation in Vena, this is actually what you use to define and design your workflow. It's a unique feature of Vena and it looks great and it's very easy to understand where your start and end points are and where your particular milestones and entry points are in the workflow. So just wanted to show you that first. Okay, next we're going to show you one part of the workflow, first part of retail sales input and review. So this is the part that I'm highlighting down here at the bottom of the workflow. I'm going to go in as a user who's going to input those retail sales, the phasing for the budget, and then log in as someone who's going to review those and confirm that they're happy with those numbers. So I'll just log out of the main admin and go into a user called retail entry. First thing that they will always see is a to-do list of processes that they need to complete and items that they need to either review or, in this case, input. So if I was to click on the London sales input item, I get a sidebar that opens that gives them options of some instructions that you can add them if you want to give some more context to why they're completing it, or even just just some information as to how to complete this part of the process. And even you can add supporting documents like Word documents, PDF, even other Excel spreadsheets, again just to give them some more assistance in completing their numbers. And the form that I've got to complete is one Excel file here, so I'll check that out. And as I'm using Chrome, I have the resultant file sitting down there. So if I open that up in Excel, which has the Vena add-in already installed on it, it recognizes that it's a Vena spreadsheet. It prompts me for a department that I want to complete for. So in this case, let me to Kensington. It refreshes the data. It has the actuals here. You see I can expand that to show you the phased actuals. And then you've got the blue sections here showing you input. Now all this can be protected to make sure that you only the end user can only input where they need to. So let me complete some budget numbers for them. So won't do it for every single period. I'll just do for the first 4. Now that's showing you what it is on screen. What I will do is save this and commit this number to the OLAP database, the Vena database. And there you go. It's now in centrally, and that's available now to everyone who needs to review that in the system. If I wanted to make a change to a different department, so Southwark, let's go into there. So if I wanted to make the changes for their budget, I can do so here, and then again save the data. Another handy feature I want to show you is the cascade functionality. And if I just show you what happens on screen, if I wanted to choose Kensington and Chiswick, click OK. Vena then produces a tab for each of those departments, a separate tab for each of those departments that can allow you to review what you had entered in for those particular departments. So okay, when you're happy with that, you close down the file. It asks you to check this file in. If you're done with it, you check that in. Close down Excel and you're back into here. When you're happy with that numbers, you then submit that, and that's you showing that you're happy with your input and you're ready for it to go to review. You'll see in the to-do list you can continue to view your input, but you can no longer edit it and make changes. That file is now gone to the next person in the workflow, in the line of the workflow for review, and that's what we're going on to next. So now I'm going to log in this case as somebody called Task Review. So this is the reviewer. Under their Contributor tab, they have a similar list of to-do items. In this case, they actually have something that they are that needs their attention. It's highlighted in red, and they've also got a list of things that are going to come soon. It's not with them yet, but eventually it will come to them. So if I go into London Sales Review, so I've got two things I need to review. In this case, it's the London Sales Review is what I'm interested in. This is what the previous person had just completed. Again, a spreadsheet opens up. Shows them now the budget that was entered by the person for the two departments that I had selected, Southwark and Kensington. Whilst this is actually is unprotected, they can't actually save this or do anything with this. Normally you would protect the whole worksheet so that it's read only. They can take the review, they can look at average sales per day here, some calculations that are being driven by Excel. If they're happy with it, it's as simple as going back into Vena and approving or rejecting it. In this case, I will approve it. And there you go, that's moved on to the next phase. Okay, so next we're going to look at a different part of the workflow, but still part of the budget and forecasting overall workflow. We're going to look at grants and grant income. Similar to the retail sales, we're going to have somebody who's going to be inputting, so their particular job is to input the grant income. So for this, I go log in as somebody called grant.entry. And like we've seen before, he has a to-do list and a coming soon item. First off, he needs to maintain the funding grants. So here, if I check this particular report out, you'll see there's always some information already completed in there. So we've got a list of funders and projects, and also the start and end dates of these particular projects and the value of these grants, any comments. So if I wanted to put in some more information in there, so there's an expected new project going through on, I don't know, 1st of December running through to 1st December 2021. I can add those in there, the length of it, automatically calculated, the value of the grant, let's call it 500,000, and now save that data. Very similar to what we've seen before. I put that in, I'm happy with that. I'll close the workbook and check it in. And when I'm happy that that's done, I will submit, and I'm happy with that. So the entering of the full project value for the grants is the first step. The second step is actually the grant income phasing. Now this says it's coming soon. In fact, it's due in a day. It's not due quite yet. However, I know that it's the next phase in the workflows. So I'm able to check this out now and start doing the phasing of that grant income. And you see there, we've got that information that was previously entered. And when Vena refreshes, there you go, the extra one that I put in. And here it's just a matter of phasing it accordingly. So if I wanted to make it £1 million each year, each period, I can do that. And the key thing is to making sure that the end to be allocated is showing 0. So we know that we're absolutely right there. Again, if I just put, say, that 500,000 there to clear it off. And if we wanted to, you can put validations in here to, cut conditional formatting. This is fundamentally still Excel. You're using Excel. If I'm happy with that, I'll save my data, submit that to the Vena database, close the workbook, check it in, and then I'm able to submit. So both of my processes are now set to view only, and grant entry is now completed. And as before, we've done the entry. We now go into the same person. It's called task review. It doesn't have to be the same person. We've just assigned all these review points to the same person. If we go into their to-do list, you'll see now they've got the grants and income review is now ready for them to do. Let me view that particular spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet can be the same, and is the same in our case, the same spreadsheet as they were to input this information. They can do, that's no problem. We can then lock it down so that they can't make any changes. Here you'll see as a review, they still can't save the data. It's just really read-only for them to review and to make sure they're happy with. And if I close that and I'm happy with that, or I can reject it. If I reject it, it will obviously go back down the chain, and the grant entry user will have to complete. If I was to reject it, you can give a reason why this is rejected. But in this case, again, I will approve and move it forward. Okay, I just want to go back and just show you as admin, show you the workflow and see where we are at the moment in this workflow. So we've maintained the funding grants, we've done the grant income phasing, we've done the review. So these three at the top here. We've also done the retail sales input. For time, we're not going to look at anything else of the process, but now the final stage, we're going to look at the budget SOFA review. And to do that, with segregation of duty, we have another login called group review person. And in their to-do list, they have a SOFA review. It's not due in 14 days. So it's not actually with them quite yet because all the other parts of the workflow haven't yet been submitted. But that doesn't mean that the end user can't still view and still look at work in progress. All the data that all the guys out there are submitting into the database are all being populated and are all being made available in any output report that you want to view. So in this case, as I'm sort of the group position, I have access to all the particular departments and funders, etc., and I can do it at a consolidated level, and I can have a look and see what's been submitted, and you'll see you've got some consolidated retail numbers in there. Very simplistic view, even though, say, the end reviewer hasn't got to wait until all parts of the workflow has been completed before they can start looking at numbers and getting an early view of things. They can still that all the data is live because it's been submitted centrally. It is only at the stage where all of the previous workflow parts, so all these extra bits, workforce, direct costs, overheads, facilities, all those have been completed, will, as a reviewer, as the budget SOFA reviewer, will I get the ability to approve or reject. And as end of the process, that would be the end of that particular budget cycle. So just want to show you one last thing, is how you can, in Vena, keep a track on the process and who's done what and what's overdue. In this manager tab, there's something called the status tracker, and it's quite a nice little dashboard that comes out of the box with Vena and just shows you how many days are remaining in this particular budget cycle, how many tasks are overdue. You've got a nice calendar there, and then the status of all the particular steps in the process and where they are in terms of the edit for contributing to the numbers, and also review status, etc. That comes out of the box pre-configured, so it's quite a nice way to manage your workflow process in a real-time status. So that's pretty much all I want to show you from an end user point of view, what they're seeing. Web interface, centrally logged in, everything controlled in terms of the workflow. The workflow itself is designed using this very pretty looking graphical user interface, and the matter of changing these things is a matter of just clicking, moving things about, and even if you wanted to put new things in there, create new tasks, it's all very much done with this user interface, graphical user interface, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, so thanks Mark for that demonstration. So let's now take a quick look at a dashboard that could be built with Power BI. So this is just a very simple example, and what you can see here is that we've got some drop downs where we can choose various products or various years, and effectively what we've got is that brilliant ability of Power BI to render information very easily, very visually, and very much sort of easy to sort of click and navigate our way around. And you can see as I'm clicking, the data is refiltering based on what I'm choosing. I mentioned earlier how easy it is to connect Power BI to Vena, and it really could not be easier. If you were to come into Power BI on desktop to the manager side, click on Get Data, come down to More. You have to wait a few secs, and just scroll down the list, and towards the bottom is Vena. Now it says beta on it. It's just a Microsoft issue where, and you can see there's a large number of betas. They insist that everything stays in beta for at least, I think it's 2 years from submission. So hopefully that'll clear soon, but it isn't in beta. It is a full working live version. Simply hit connect, enter your username and details, and that will get direct integration into Vena, and it will instantly start to show you all of the fields that are available to you from your data sets. Okay, so just back to the presentation now, and we'll take one final look at some case studies. So I thought the first one we should look at is a not-for-profit called Young Life. They have a revenue of about $80 million. Spread across 35 camps in the US and Canada, they had all the classic issues of doing budgeting and forecasting over a distributed area. So they implemented Vena to connect up to their existing systems. They had a number, Lawson, so Infor Lawson, Microsoft Navision, and PeopleSoft, so sort of 3 finance systems, financial ledgers in place. They have a Vena user base of 225, and they really needed help with budgeting. And what was key here is, and it's sort of brought through in what the FD is saying on the right of the screen here, is that we can build on what we already have to make a better budget process. That's a key message from Vena. We don't need to throw out all of the Excel templates and everything that your business already know and use. What we can do is take those as a starting point, integrate them into Vena, make them better, but also make them secure, but also still give your users the flexibility they want and still allow them to use the functions and formulas that they know. Using Vena does not mean starting from scratch. It means taking your existing templates, which are Excel based, and improving them. I thought I'd also just throw in Nando's. I know they're not an FP, they're not a not-for-profit, but they are a great case study based here in the UK, where Nando's obviously has grown significantly. We all know the brand now, and if you're like me, you love them. They have obviously a number of sites, 1,000 restaurants, 24 countries, and they started off by needing a better solution for reporting that data and doing forecasting. So they brought Vena on board, connected up to all of their various systems. So we're talking about Dynamics, Sage, Xero, Microsoft Great Plains, sort of a little bit of everything. And over time, because they found it so easy to use, that and their users sort of got so much benefit from it, that they ultimately decided to sort of push it further. So now Vena is core to their month-end close processes, to their consolidation and financial and statutory reporting, all of their ops planning and budgeting and reforecasting is all done with Vena, and has been for the last 5 years now, so all through that significant growth, and they're now up to 205 users. And it really reinforces just how strong the Vena engine is to solving the Excel problem. When the group finance manager sat down with us to give this case study, she turned around and said, when we sat down with our group CEO to review the results, the first thing my manager said was, for the first time ever, I've got 100% comfort in these numbers. And that's a really powerful message. At that point, I'd like to thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with us on info@cygnuspm.com.